It's been a little bit, but guess what? It's time to go through some junk silver. Hey everyone, it's RobFindsTreasure and welcome back to my channel. As many of you know, sometimes we like to do some junk silver purchases and hunts, mainly because it's fun going through some old US Constitutional 90% silver and to see if we can upgrade any of my albums. That being said, it's kind of a smaller purchase today. This is $27.55 in face value silver coinage. Now, a lot of you always ask me if I paid the price that's on the bag. No, that's the face value. For 90% silver, you're going to pay a multiple of that face value, and depending upon where you're at in the country and the supply and demand at your local LCS, you can pay anywhere between 18 and 22 times face. For this particular batch, I paid just under 21 times face, mainly because he had to round up to a whole number just to make it easy for us. That being said, this is older than normal 90% silver. This is all the stuff that's going to be probably 1930 and older, 1930 being the SLQs. We should have some Barber stuff in here, half dollars, dimes, maybe a seated Liberty. I don't know. I didn't see anything by the back of the bag, but I have not even opened this. All I did was buy it from my junk silver dealer and take it home for the video. That being said, if you're new to my channel or new to any of my videos, I do have an entire playlist dedicated to junk silver hunts if you have interest in checking those out after you watch this one. I think what we'll do first is we'll dump out this bag, take a look at all the coins, and then I'll sort them by denomination and design type, and then we'll start seeing if we have anything that's a better date like I have listed on my stacking silver mat, or if we have any upgrades or additions to any of the books that these coins might be part of for my collection. I'll be back in just a second, and we'll go ahead and do a dump out of this junk silver. All right, no slow motion pour out today. I know there wasn't a lot of sound. Oh, we got a commemorative. I know there wasn't a lot of sound of the silver dumping out. We even have an old slick seated. All right, I'm excited to go ahead and get these sorted. Some beautiful old constitutional silver. We'll have to see if we have any better dates, any better condition, or any cool coins. That's already one cool one. An old Booker T. Washington US half dollar commemorative. We'll definitely take that one. All right, let me start the sort, and I'll be back after I've done that. Well, I noticed it in the last clip and I didn't make mention of it, so I figured I'd bring it back. I don't know why we have walkers in here, but I guess because they're slightly better condition. So kind of mad that I dumped them out not knowing we had some unprotected, better shape walkers. They do look like they might be clean though. They're pretty shiny, but either way, they're nicer walkers. So that's kind of a nice little bonus. Figured I'd point that out. Now let me get back to the sort. All right, I'm back again. All I've done is grab all of the half dollars out, and I didn't check any dates or mints, but I do have the Barbers here, the Walkers here, and you saw that Booker T. Washington commemorative half dollar. But we also got a couple of Christopher Columbus Columbian Exposition half dollars. This is the first U.S. commemorative half dollar they minted. They actually minted it in 1892 and in 1893, and that one's going to be in 1893, and I didn't check the date on this one yet, and that one's going to be in 1893 as well. So very cool. 1892 has a little bit less mintage than 1893, but I'll definitely take a couple of those. And I already have a collection of them, but it's nice seeing a few more. 3 commemoratives, a couple of nice walkers, and some barbers to go through. We're off to a good start. Now let me get on to the quarters, and I'll be back in a minute after I've got them sorted, or if I find something cool. All right, we've got everything from the bag sorted. And again, I've not really checked any dates unless it's obviously one seated Liberty quarter. We can see it's an 1861, but haven't checked any dates and mints on any of these really. We've got a seated quarter. That's the Barber Quarters. That's the standing Liberty quarters. And then we got a couple, I guess, 3 seated Liberty Dimes. That's the Barber Dimes. And we even have a seated Liberty half dime with a little bit of cool toning. So definitely we'll take a look at all these and see if we have any better dates, better mints, things of that nature. I think I'll start with the half dollars, the Barber half dollars first. Let me go ahead and stack them by year and mint and bring you guys back in for a recap of what we got in this hunt. So for the Barber half dollars, actually, even though they're in low condition, there are a couple of better dates. but we do have a common 1900 Philadelphia. We have a 1907 O with some damage on it, although it's common. 1907 D, 1908 D. Again, these are all common. A couple of cleaned and pretty slick 1909 and 1911 Phillies, but a couple of better dates, lower mintages. We do have a lower mint 1913. It's been cleaned and it's slick, but that's a San Francisco mint. 1913 S. I think if I recall correctly, there's like 600,000 of these minted. So can't get mad at that. That's definitely a cool find, although I don't need one. I already have one in better shape. And then the best find of the bunch is going to be this decent, although it's been cleaned again, 1914 S. 1914 S is under a million minted, but it is in decent shape, much better than the 13S with the lower mintage. So a couple of cool finds, none of which I need for my collection, but definitely ones that would take or at least hold a spot for somebody who wanted a more affordable San Francisco 13S or 14S, because in the higher grades, these get up to that 3 figures number, if not more. So anyway, pretty cool. Nothing fantastic there. A couple of cool finds. You already saw the nicer walkers and the cool commemoratives. Now that we've done that, let me go through the quarters next, and I'll be back with a recap of at least the seated and the barbers. I'll do those together, and we'll save the SLQs to do separately. All right, we've got all the Barber quarters sorted, and just for informational purposes, that 1861 seated Liberty quarter is one of the most common ones you can get. So even though it's in decent shape, nothing exciting there. As far as the Barber quarters, we have a good assortment of dates. There is a date gap we'll get to, but most of them are Philadelphia minted. We have an 1894, 95, 96, 98, 99, a couple of 98s actually. We've got a 1900, but we also got a 1900S. Probably the find of the bunch. It's not in the best shape, but it is a 1900S. A little bit lower mint, a little bit more value, but nothing crazy. We did have 3 1901s, and I'll tell you, for a split second, this bottom one looked like it might have had a mint mark on it, but it was just damaged. But naked eye, I thought I saw the top of an S, and that would have been epic. 1901S is a definite key date, but it's not that. 207Ps, we got an 080, 08Ds, 09D, 10 and 12Ps, 14D, and 16D. None of these are in really good shape. I don't think any will upgrade my album. Of course, I will double check them before I put them away. We didn't have any upgrades in the barbers for those keeping track. Let me go ahead and just double check these. If I have any upgrades, I'll bring in. Otherwise, I'll get on to the SLQs next, and I'll sort them by year. And then, of course, ones that are dateless, we'll put to the side. I'm back really quick again because I did have an upgrade. The 1861 seated Liberty quarter I had is going to be replaced by the one we got today. Slightly better? I'll take it. It's better nonetheless. All right, on to the SLQs. Well, we've got the SLQ sorted. We only had 4 without dates and without mint marks, and they're all type 2. There is no type 1s there. I really thought I could have got a date off of this one. It has decent detail, but the date is just obliterated. No mint mark either. So that's 4 dateless SLQs. Not bad for a bunch of SLQs that we got in this bag. As far as the dated ones, ironically, the most minted date from 1925 through 1930 is the 1925, and we didn't get any of them. But we did get a good assortment here. 26 Phillies, 26 San Franciscos, 27 Philly. We have a 27S, and I'll cover that in a second. No 28P, but we got 28 Ds and S's, all the 29 PD and S, and then 30P and 30 S's. And I put the nicest ones on top just because I might check those against my album. I don't think any of these will upgrade, but it's still pretty cool. At the end of the day, though, we did get one of the key dates. 1927 San Francisco, and I will zoom in on it for you so you can see the mint mark right there to the left of the pedestal above the 1 in 19. 1927S is a tough one to get. Only 396,000 originally minted. And I'll check this against my book. I do have a pretty slick one in there if I recall. But even in G4 condition, and I would say this is probably G4 condition, it's still a $30+ coin. So paying junk silver price for it, even at 21 times face, we got a heck of a deal on this one, and I'll take that all day. I think we paid just over $5 for it. Like I said, nothing here fantastic. The nicest looking coin is probably this 1928 Denver. Definitely looks like it's been cleaned though at some point, but still has great detail. And there's a few decent looking ones. Again, I'll check them against my collection, and then I'll check my couple of rolls I have of these to see if I can fill in these spots, because if I can make a 1925 through 1930 set. Let me go ahead and check them against the collection. If I have any upgrades, I'll let you know. Otherwise, it's time to move on to the dimes. Well, I just was getting ready to sort the dimes, and so far all I've done is the Liberty Seated or Seated Liberty full dimes, as well as the half dime, and I've got it underneath the scope because I'm going to show that to you in a second. As far as the Liberty Seated dimes, we just have three common ones here, an 1845, 1876, and 1886. Nothing in great shape. The 1845, obviously, it's a little bit older, decent reverse, but no mint mark, nothing special about it. Just thought it was cool to have three Seated Liberty dimes in that bag. That being said, I was checking the mintages for the 1858 Seated Liberty half dimes, and there's two different varieties that you want to look for. Let me go ahead and bring up the two different varieties. The first variety you want to look for is the close-up of a repunched date right there that we got, and you're looking for the date that's been repunched. And you can clearly see that right there, and if I scope the larger one, you can see it a little bit better. You can see the shadow 8 behind it, a little bit of the 5, the 8 there. That's a pretty valuable one, but the other one you want to look for is the 1858 over inverted date. And I'm just going to go right to the bigger example. And you can clearly see that the date has been inverted and repunched right there. And you can see all the little dashes and squiggly lines indicating that the dies weren't polished enough to remove the old date. Now that we've done that, under the scope, I've got an 1858, so I decided to check the date and take a look at this. We have the 1858 over inverted date. Unbelievable. Lying there, 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 and there. And if we go back to that PCGS listing, you can see it there. So it's not extremely valuable. I think mine's probably in VG8 condition. Maybe if I'm lucky, they'll give me a 10. I don't think it qualifies for a fine 12, but still PCGS values 150 to 175. I'm not sure it would go for that much if I were to sell it, but I love older US constitutional silver that has varieties. So even though it's probably somewhat of a lost proposition if I were to spend the money to get it graded, I think it'd be cool to have that variety. There's only 14 of these graded in PCGS's population, so it'd be just cool to have it slabbed as another variety found in one of my junk silver purchase and hunts. All right, now that we've done the Seated Liberty dimes and half dimes, let me go ahead and move on to the Barber dimes and get them sorted and be back. So we've got all the Barber dimes sorted by date and mint, and actually that's a really fantastic variety in this bag. There's not a lot of really high grade ones. Some are a little bit nicer, like this one right here. But in the end, they've either been cleaned or they're heavily circulated, a little bit of damage on them, you name it. But I did manage to find a couple of better dates, and I'm just going to run over all the dates really quick. We have actually an 1892P and an 1892O, and if I recall, I don't have an 1892O in my Barber Dime book. So even though it's not the best condition, it definitely is one that I need. 1893, it's not 3/2, at least from what I can see. 97, we do have a 99, a couple of them, and a 99S, which is a slightly tougher date. A 1900O, tougher date, 1900P, and a 1900S. A 19010, 02P, 030 and P, 04P, 050, and a few 05S's. For the 06, we have this P, D, and S, 07P and D, 08P and D, 090 and P, and then we have 10P, 11P, D, and S, 12P and D, 13P, 14P and D, 15P, and 16P and S. Again, nothing really in fantastic shape. I think the find of all of the ones we have, even though the 1900S is nice, is it going to be this 1900O. Slightly better date, and even in G4 conditions, these things fetch about 15 bucks. So definitely in that G4 range, of course. And was that rotated die, or did I just flip it wrong? It's normal. And definitely a good little pickup. That goes over here. What I have to do now is compare all of these Barber Dimes to my album. I know, or at least I believe I need an 1892O, because I think I just have the 1892P for the 1892 first year Barber Dime years. So I might need that one, but I'm going to double check. And I think what I'll do is after I've double checked all of them against my album, I'll give you a look at any that I added or any that I upgraded. And I will tell you right now, my Barber Dime book is not that great, but I will say that my Barber Dime album is only from cherry picking junk silver bins, junk silver purchases, and I've never even bought a single Barber Dime on its own to fill a slot in the book. So it's going to be a lot of dimes similar to some of these, but through the years of doing this, upgrading, adding, you name it, we've put together a pretty good Barber Dime book. Anyway, let me go ahead and do that. I'll bring you back. So I've combed through all the Barber Dimes. I rolled up the ones with some of my existing Barber Dime rolls, but I thought it was pretty cool. I went through them and I was able to get 37 different Barber Dimes, different years and mints, plus the 1900O, of course. That's the better date in here into this little separate roll. So that's pretty cool. We have a little starter set, if you will, for somebody. Now, as far as my Barber Dime book, I was able to upgrade, actually add 1892O and upgrade the 1900S, the 1906S, and the 1915P. And again, these aren't perfect. These aren't submittable as far as condition, but all through junk silver purchases. And I'm going to go quick through this. There's the 1892O. We added it. I know they're pretty toasty, but this is just done, like I said in the previous clip, from junk silver purchases. Only missing 5 Barber Dimes on that first page. The 1900S is right here. That's when we updated. So I'm pretty happy about that. And only missing 2 Barber Dimes on the second page, including some tougher dates, even though, again, they're in rough condition. We also upgraded the 1906S, which is right here. So I was happy to get that. And then on the third and final page, we're only missing a couple as well. And we were able to upgrade the 1915 Philly. Now, I know it drives you crazy having these all spun around, but believe me, every time I fix them, they fall or slide again because they just don't fit in these slots. They're circulated. But we're missing only 2, 3, 4, plus these 5. We're only missing 9 Barber Dimes from the complete Barber Dime set. And again, not spending more than junk silver multiple of face value on these, and that makes me happy. It's a really fun hunt. We got some commemoratives for the collection. We got some better date Barber Half Dollars, pretty nice SLQ, a nice Liberty Quarter, an 1858 over inverted date. I'm probably going to submit that just to get it protected and keep it in my collection. I made a couple of starter sets, and we got some upgrades and additions for my own personal collection. And on top of all that, couple of nice walkers that I'll probably just sleeve up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this junk silver purchase and hunt. I know I did. If you did enjoy it, I'd appreciate that thumbs up. And as always, everyone, happy hunting, happy stacking, and thanks for watching.